I already posted the link. Konnichiwa, bitches. This hangout is live. I'm the commish, Doug Gardner. Joining me, as always, is Connor. Hi, Connor.
Hello, Doug.
Welcome to the NFL Draft Edition, free agency edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast. We haven't done one of these in a while. Got a lot to get to. Connor, is there anything you want to do? Maybe outline the show before we really just dig into it?
Yeah, we're just gonna go over finally the free agents. We haven't been on for a while, but we're gonna do that. Tell you some of our teams we like or dislike and the moves they've done this year, or maybe some key players if they are in better situations or worse ones. And then we're gonna finish up with a little bit of some draft talks and seeing it's happening in a couple of days.
And one quick reminder, we are having the UML off-season meetup. Most of you have already RSVP'd to that. That is Friday at 6 o'clock at Giuseppe's. Let me know if you need a ride or whatever. I would be happy to come pick your bitch ass up. Anyway, I'm going to turn on my screen share so you guys can see what we're seeing, and we will go from there. All right, y'all. We'll start at the quarterback position, as always. The first real domino to fall, Connor, in this offseason was Nick Foles finally getting that big contract that he, I guess, deserved after the playoff run and Super Bowl MVP with Philly. 4 years, $88 million with Jacksonville. What is your take on how this affects Foles' fantasy value? Was it a good signing, and what does it mean for the Jags?
I think it's definitely very good for him. I think he got some serious cash, deserved for what he's done to this point. You know, I don't know that he's really worth that money, which is maybe my downside to it for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I mean, hey, it's got to be better than Bortles, right? And Nick Foles has proved that he can get it done in the playoffs, and I think that's exactly what Jacksonville has never done is succeeded in the playoffs. So if they can get him there, I think that they've definitely improved themselves. I think it's a win-win for both sides. You'd like to see Jacksonville as somebody that can play for them a bit longer, but I think for the short term, with the style of play that they like to have and what they like to do, Nick Foles is, a fine thing to plug in. I mean, they did it with Eli Manning and with the same kind of system with Coughlin running the show, so I think he's totally okay with Nick Foles.
Now, he's better than Blake Bortles, so does he elevate the talent in Jacksonville to be fantasy relevant? Will they have a lot of fantasy utility? Where do you line up on guys like Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook? How are they going to be with Foles at the helm? Are they going to have any utility?
Well, sadly, I think the biggest thing Foles is going to do for that offense is open up more running room for their backs there. Who it might be is still kind of a little shady. I think we'll still see Fournette there, and I think he'll do well if he doesn't screw it up. But I think that's the main goal of having Nick Foles is really just to have the run game not be the only thing being stopped. I think he'll increase them somewhat, but there's so many mouths to feed still, even though they don't seem like there's really any standout guys. I think that because none of them stand out, they're all just going to kind of get their usual targets. And I think Nick Foles can make a couple of deeper throws now and have better accuracy than what Bortles was capable of. I think it'll be slightly better, but I don't see them, exploding on the scene now. I think they're still going to have average numbers.
Yeah, the way I look at it is someone will be good, but I don't know who.
Yep.
Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, Blake Bortles all signed backup deals. Anything you want to touch on there with any of those guys?
I think it was pretty smart of Bridgewater to kind of just say, I'm going to stick with a good organization that knows what they're doing, and hopefully I'll start soon rather than just being thrown back into the mix if he had signed with Miami, especially with his injury concern after what happened to him. I'd rather just see him wait and get his moment with a good offense rather than, figure out what's going to happen.
I mean, at a certain point, though, Connor, he's got to put some tape out there. What we saw at the end of last season was not good. He is just 26 years old, but he's got to put some tape out there sooner rather than later, or he's going to keep having to take these backup roles. Speaking of Miami, they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Yeah, they'll be about as good as they were at the quarterback position last year. What do you think about that one?
I think it's fun. I don't think it's not anything to really talk about, but I think it'll be interesting and it'll be a good storyline for the year. But yeah, about the same for them. I think they're still just completely overhauling and figuring out what they're doing.
Yeah.
So Fitzpatrick's just that piece until then.
Fish tanking.
Yeah.
RG3 resigns with Baltimore as a true backup to Lamar Jackson. Brett Hundley goes to Arizona. Who he backs up, we don't know. We'll talk about that more later, I'd imagine. Ryan Griffin goes back to Tampa Bay. And the front office is high on him. That's something to watch if Jameis Winston falters. AJ McCarron, Tom Savage, Austin Davis, Joe Webb, Derek Anderson, all just backups.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Davis actually retired, apparently. I didn't know that. So not that anyone cares, but Mike Glennon is in Oakland. That's a fine backup. Blaine Gabbert down in Tampa as well. Any of this other stuff interesting you at all? Should we just move on to running backs?
Nothing standing out here.
All right. Le'Veon Bell, there's one for you. 4 years, $52.5 million with the New York Jets. Definitely joins an offense that still needs some offensive line help, but they added a lot to help young signal caller Sam Darnold. What do you think this means for Lev Bell and the Jets offense as a whole?
I think for the Jets, it's a huge upgrade, and they finally have somebody to fill the seats and something to power the offense. For Le'Veon Bell, the way he went about things is going to go down as being a questionable decision for the rest of his life. But I think out of what happened to him, could he have had a better situation to win? Yes, but I think for him wanting money and him wanting to have an organization that isn't so focused on using him, I think he found the right solution by signing with the Jets and getting his money. I think it's good for him, but I do wonder, for fantasy wise, I think it's good for me to have Le'Veon Bell go to the Jets. I think they're going to use him constantly. He's going to get tons of fantasy points. For him in his real life, I feel like he could have signed somewhere else to have a more lasting impact on his legacy. But if he just wants the money, I think it was a great deal for him.
Yeah, I think you might. I think he's going to get a ton of usage, a ton of volume. They, like I said, they added some pieces, but he's still their only legitimate offensive weapon at this point. Chris Herndon's a nice player. Quincy Nunwa, Robbie Anderson, whatever. Le'Veon Bell's a star. They're not. I think we already touched on Kareem Hunt signing with Cleveland, so we will skip over that. Tevin Coleman signed with the San Francisco 49ers in a move that I thought was really surprising. I didn't understand it. I don't like it. Connor, what were your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, it seemed like Shanahan kind of called him up and really talked him into it. That's the only thing I could think of how this happened, why it happened too. I mean, there's still, you got Breda and McKinnon there. And I mean, he signed a 2-year deal. It wasn't like he got longevity with this deal. And 8.5 mil is okay. I feel like he kind of was one of those guys that we were waiting for him to get out of free agency so he could go sign a mega contract and become the lead back, and he kind of just did not do that. So I think it's a bad move for his side the most. If San Francisco has McKinnon go down like nothing again and Breida keeps getting hurt constantly between games, I think it's a good move for them to have him there, but I think they could have put that money elsewhere as well.
But aren't they all kind of the same running back at the end of the day? Like, I guess your injury point is a good one, but they don't have a big between the tackles runner. They have these, home run hitter, pass catching type of guys. Kyle Shanahan, I believe in him. Jimmy Garoppolo will be back. It's just, and they said they're going to use them all. So I didn't like the signing at all. It also was like you said, a really small contract. And he signed almost right after Lev Bell did, which is interesting because they have the same agent. So that was the whole thing is just really strange to me. Moving on to Mark Ingram, 29-year-old running back, signed with the Baltimore Ravens. This is a signing I actually really liked. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. I really liked it for both sides. I think Mark Ingram is finally going to get to be that ground and pound every down back that he wanted to be. I think it'll be interesting with the quarterback situation. I think we'll see just how much running they do. I think it's great for him. I think it's going to work out really well. I think with their focus on defense and with that, and just knowing that they aren't going to be able to throw the ball, they've kind of shored up that they're still going to run it down your throat no matter what you try to do. So yeah, I think Baltimore, with what they had available to them and the way they needed to come about being a playoff contender this coming season, I think that was the right choice.
Yeah. One thing to note here is that John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, came out and said that Gus Edwards is their lead back, which I just do not believe.
Not for
Personally. Yeah. Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram can catch the ball a little bit too. So
there's sure Mark Ingram doesn't get himself suspended for another 3 games before the season.
For sure. Marshawn Lynch, if he signs anywhere, do you care?
It has to be the dream spot, and I just don't see anywhere that's going to happen. And especially his style of play just isn't what the NFL is anymore.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good for him to kind of hang it up.
Jay Ajayi, if he signs somewhere, do you care?
I just don't think he has it, and he's always hurt. I think you could get some quality games out of him. I think somebody should sign them, but I think I don't care personally.
Late in the season waiver wire kind of guy, maybe for fantasy. TJ Yeldon, it doesn't show it on here, did sign with the Bills. TJ Yeldon, interesting piece of trivia, has as many yards as Tevin Coleman since they came into the league 4 years ago. He signed with the Bills. They've got LaShawn McCoy there. They've got Frank Gore there. Do we care about TJ Yeldon in 2019?
2020 maybe. And if they move Shady, that could still be a possibility.
Save almost $7 million on the cap if they get rid of LaShawn McCoy.
And I don't know what they would get for it, but I mean, if
they'd cut him.
Could be just a cut. Yeah, yeah. I mean, why keep all 3? So yeah, I think TJ Yeldon. Keep watching to see if Shady gets cut. Even with that, though, I think Gore will eat into a lot of his time still for this year. I think 2020 is the year to look at, or if they do anything in the draft.
Yeah, let someone else draft him in the UML, unless things change between now and the draft. An interesting one that I didn't think was interesting when I saw it was Mike Davis signing with the Bears. This is before the Jordan Howard trade, which we should get into soon as well. That is not on here. So Mike Davis showed some flashes last year in Seattle, but obviously they drafted Rashad Penny in the first round, so they didn't need him anymore. He walks, signs with the Bears, and then they promptly turn around and trade Jordan Howard, leaving a lot of touches for Mike Davis. What sort of fantasy utility is Mike Davis going to have for the Bears in 2019?
I think he could have a huge impact if they don't do anything in the draft. I think they probably will still sign a guy, but even then, I think he, for this year at least, will have a significant role. He just keeps being relevant. I mean, it's pretty much almost the same situation as Seattle, with a little less focus on the run game. Well, even still, they run the ball quite a bit too. I think it's I think he's going to prove he's done it before. He can make plays happen with 3 or 4 guys competing for the same spot. So I think he's born in that role, and I think he can carve out a chunk of carries for himself.
Every year in the UML, teams end up with groups of guys as their third running back. You have your running back 1, your running back 2, and then 4 guys that are going to comprise your running back 3. I think he's a fine guy to put in that third group.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that might be in that group is CJ Anderson, who signed with the Lions.
The Lions just can't let go and let one guy run the ball. They just can't.
The Lions do not care about your fantasy team. CJ Anderson, of course, had a really great playoff run last year after disappointing few games with the Panthers and a few actually pretty good seasons with the Broncos beforehand. He is 28 and looked rather large, but more effective than he's ever looked, I guess. So who cares? I think CJ Anderson is going to really let us know if Kerryon Johnson's good or not.
Or if he can stay healthy again.
Yeah, because CJ Anderson is good enough to take your job if you get hurt. Ask Todd Gurley. But yeah, CJ Anderson probably not someone I'm drafting until the later rounds as far as UML goes.
Mm-hmm.
If Spencer Ware signs somewhere, do you care?
It has to be somewhere where there's nothing.
Yeah, if the Patriots sign him after Sony Michel gets hurt, sure.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, 34-year-old Adrian Peterson, 1,000 yards rushing last season. Signed a 2-year deal with the Redskins. Is he going to be good? Darius Geis comes back, and we know from experience that Adrian Peterson needs to be the dog. He cannot be part of a group.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of an annoyance for Geis at this point. For your dad who owns him, he's probably very annoyed. I think that if they ease Geis in, Peterson could have a good start to a season. But I don't see by the end of the year with a healthy Geis him impacting much.
Well, I also predict this offense to be terrible.
That's it.
So neither of them might be good. So Adrian Peterson, another similar to Mike Davis, a guy that would be best suited in your group of third and fourth running backs that you use based on the matchup. We'll skip over Darren Sproles. Latavius Murray was a signing I actually really liked. The Saints lose Mark Ingram and sign a relatively similar player in Latavius Murray with a little bit more top-end speed. I think Latavius Murray suits well to this offense, but I think it's also a signing that proves that this is not a tandem. This is not a committee anymore. This is Alvin Kamara's backfield. Latavius Murray just works there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they liked what they got out of Kamara during the suspension for now I can't remember his name.
Ingram.
For Ingram last year. I think they liked what they saw in that production, but they didn't like what they got from the other various candidates that played in there that they plugged in. And I think that Latavius Murray is kind of that ultimate plug-in. And I think that he'll be streaky, I feel like. There'll be some games where he just does pretty much nothing, but I think he's got a great nose for the end zone, so I think he's definitely going to be seeing a lot of touchdowns. And, but I think it's great for Kamara, it's great for Murray, it's great for New Orleans.
Yeah, I think that's I'm not sure how great it's going to be for your fantasy team. He's not going to be Mark Ingram, so don't draft him expecting that.
But he'll be more than he has been these past couple of years,
yeah.
At least thought to be until he had his chance in Minnesota.
Yeah, once again, one of those third, fourth running back group guys. Ty Montgomery signed with the Jets as a backup to Le'Veon Bell, who is, even though Ty Montgomery came into the league as a receiver, Le'Veon Bell is still a better receiver than him. Do we care about Ty Montgomery with the Jets?
No, he could be gone by the time the season starts as well, too.
Yeah. And if he had signed with the Patriots, I'd be interested. But Carlos Hyde signed with the Chiefs on a one-year deal. I kind of care about this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was talking, will Damian Williams really be the lead back? And, I mean, now that Hyde's there, I think they'll both kind of suffer and be very average. But I think Carlos Hyde could easily become the back out of the two of those. I mean, Damian Williams, I think, kind of benefited from the system more than anything. So I think if they plug Carlos Hyde into that same system, he's probably going to do better at it.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Damian Williams is better at football than Carlos Hyde. So Isaiah Crowell signed a one-year deal with the Raiders. Do we care?
I mean, he's going to start. He's probably going to get a shit ton of carries too. So yeah, I think he's going to be one of those guys that you begrudgingly take in the third or fourth round at the draft. And he'll do something for you. I think Oakland is perfect fit for how they like to run the ball.
And they've got their pass catching back too. So.
And I mean, and also Doug, remember you said it multiple times. I can't believe how young he is. He's only 26.
Yeah, I feel like he's been in the league for like 30 years at this point. Alfred Blue signed with the Jaguars, and he's gonna be there for like a 20 carry, 215-yard, 2-touchdown performance in Week 11. And no one's gonna start him. But overall, we don't care unless there's an injury to Leonard Fournette. Good.
I said, which is likely though. I think. He may be a good handcuff in a late round pick.
Yeah. Alfred Blue's a better football player, and he's only 27. I feel like he's been around for 100 years also. Amir Abdullah re-signed with the Vikings. He's a kick returner. Nobody cares. Buck Allen, nobody cares. Alfred Morris, Rod Smith, nobody cares. Frank Gore, we talked about a little bit before with Buffalo. How much do we care?
Well, I think if Shady goes, he'll get his carries. I think he'll be resilient. But I think at this point in his career, we saw it with his last season. Yes, he'll have a couple quality games. He's worth owning, but I'd kind of save him for free agency. I mean, he's a running back, so he'll be drafted still. But
when are you going to want to start Frank Gore?
When you are very desperate.
I mean, he was good last year. Don't get me wrong. It's just, when are you going to feel good about starting 35-year-old Frank Gore? But he's been proving people wrong for like 10 years, saying he's too old. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Williams, nobody cares. Alex Collins is going to jail. Nobody cares. Corey Grant, nobody cares. Jaquiz Rogers, nobody cares.
Oh, finally, no more Jaquiz Rogers.
Zach Zenner, nobody cares. LeGarrette Blount, nobody cares. Brandon Bolden's a special teamer. Nobody cares. Benny Cunningham with the Jaguars, nobody cares. Cameron Artis-Payne, I swear to God, this guy's still in the league. Re-signed with the Panthers, nobody cares. You care about any of these other guys?
No, that's about it for me. Jonathan Stewart just retired today. Shout out to him.
Oh, yeah, he was oft injured. Running back, could have had a much better career. It's a shame he didn't. And Dave Gettleman, one of his dumbest things he's ever done, and it's still up there, is paying him and D'Angelo Williams at the same time in the league where that was moving away from the running back position. So kudos to you, Mr. Gettleman. Is there anything of value at this fullback position, or can we just skip it?
Well, I think Olawale is pretty good. I'm glad Dallas signed him.
Yeah, even though he dropped a critical pass earlier in playoffs or whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck him. Anyway, Larry Fitzgerald re-signed with Arizona. He's always been with Arizona. He'll be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for you this year, right? Depending on who the quarterback is.
Yeah. Good old Larry.
Golden Tate signed a contract with the Giants because the Giants are stupid and don't know what they're doing. But he still is a good player. He probably can help you out as a wide receiver 3. His contract in the NFL doesn't affect your fantasy team. What do you think about Golden Tate with the Giants?
I mean, with what they have there, he's got to get stuff. He's got to get points. I don't understand where he's going to play with Shepard there, but I mean, he'll be on the field, so he'll be used. I think he could be a good wide receiver 3 this year.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden Tate. You're not going to be excited about it, but he's going to be a decent player. Also, I think this is the first time I've seen the Tyrell Williams contract. 4 years,
Yeah.
$44 million with Oakland. He's a good player, and he's going to get some looks opposite Antonio Brown. What does this mean for? I think does Pat still own him? I think so.
Yes, I think he has a choice to you.
Do we like Tyrell Williams? Is he kind of like a third, fourth, fifth wide receiver on your fantasy team, or could he be more than that?
I still think he's probably a 4th or 5th. If he has good connection with Carr, maybe he'll do something. But with the way the offense looked last year, Carr just seemed to be throwing to the tight ends, and they were running the ball. And I think it's going to be more of the same of that. I think they've tried to get him some guys. I mean, but I think it'll be spread out. I don't know that he will stand out necessarily. It could happen.
John Brown signed with the Bills on a 3-year deal. They also signed Cole Beasley, so we can talk about these two at the same time. Robert Foster, the rookie out of Alabama last year, came on towards the end of the season, played really well. And they still have Zay Jones there. Is Josh Allen going to be good enough to make? All right, let me rephrase the question. How many of these receivers is Josh Allen going to be good enough to make relevant?
Probably none of them as a unit. I think it's good signings by Buffalo.
Yeah, I like both of them personally.
But I like the players, but I just feel like Buffalo's situation still won't be a prosperous one anytime soon. Especially Josh Allen, I feel like fantasy-wise will get you points, but I don't know that he hasn't shown that he can have a wide receiver become a wide receiver 1 in his system. So I think they're probably not going to do that great, but I think it's good for Buffalo overall.
And good for Allen himself,
Yeah.
I think. Terrible contract, Devin Funchess, 1 year, $10 million that can escalate to 13 with incentive with Indianapolis. It's a good landing spot for him. They don't have a receiver like that on the team unless you want to count Eric Ebron. I think he'll probably be decent for fantasy. I just don't like the contract.
Yeah, but at least it's for 1 year though. But I think he'll be used. He's still only 24. He's a big body, which will go well with Hilton. I think he'll probably be worth more than you expect, and I think he'll be a good late grab.
Yeah, well, he's owned by Doug Sr. in like the 8th round or something.
Oh, right, that's right.
So he'll probably hang on to him, and I think he'll be pleased with the value he gets out of that.
Yeah, could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. And Steve asks a question: what's Jordan Howard's worth now on the Eagles? We did skip over that. The Eagles traded virtually nothing to the Chicago Bears for the services of Jordan Howard. Basically, in my opinion, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, Connor, I think he's going to give you basically what Jay Ajayi did for the Eagles before he got hurt. Decent production, but really not much in the passing game, and running back 2-3 territory at best. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this was good for him to stay on the field longer. I feel like there's a chance that his career was almost towards an end if he had stuck it out with Chicago. So I think he has more longevity. But I've also noticed Philadelphia, for as good as they've made their offenses, they kind of don't really know what they're doing at running back a lot of times. I feel like they've had opportunities to have guys do more, and they kind of squander it up. So
like here's Corey Clement for the 50th time.
Yeah, so I feel like it'll be good for the Eagles because it'll give them a more of a constant running back, and hopefully they can figure things out. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily a better situation for him to be in Philadelphia than Chicago, unfortunately.
Yeah, a few slot receivers here: Jamison Crowder with the Jets, Adam Humphries with the Titans, Randall Cobb with the Cowboys. We'll start with Jamison Crowder, who a couple years ago was supposed to be the next big thing in slot receiving. Signs with the Jets, fills an immediate need for the Jets in the slot there. If he can stay healthy, how good can he be?
Well, it's been always been the thing. Can he stay healthy? I think if he stays healthy, he could develop a really good friendship with now I'm blanking on his name.
Darnold.
Darnold, who I own. Uh, with Darnold, I feel like Darnold enjoys kind of the slot receiver type. He likes somebody you can rely on and throw to often. We kind of saw that a little bit with Enunwa this past season. I think Crowder's much better than Enunwa. So I think we could see, depending on his health, really good connection going for the season. He could be a really good PPR kind of guy.
But Enunwa is still on the team. They have Lev Bell. They signed Ty Montgomery. I mean, who knows what he's going to be. They had Deontay Burnett, who's a college teammate of Darnold's on the team who can play in the slot a little bit. Chris Herndon's there. Like, do they have too many of these short area passing receivers for any of them to exert their full utility?
Well, that's why I think Jamison Crowder might be the right guy to go with, because I feel like, yes, they have all these guys, but they've had a lot of them this whole time, and I feel like it's more of the fact that they didn't have anything and had to throw these guys out. And I think that if a guy with enough talent can come in and show that he is the best guy for that role, I think we might see some of those guys kind of get their time on the field cut down, and we could see a lot more Crowder out on the field than some of the others.
Also has value as a dangerous punt returner. Adam Humphries was one of my favorite free agents going into the season. Did not think he would get a contract quite like this with Tennessee. They don't have a receiver like this on the team before signing him. What do you think about the Adam Humphries signing in Tennessee?
I think he got good money. I think Tennessee made a good move. I just don't think that their situation, I just feel like their wide receivers are never a quality play. I feel like we never see anything come out of it. We just see constantly Walker getting all of the targets, and pretty much that's how the system operates. I think we're going to see a lot more Derrick Henry this year as well. I feel like he's a good player in the right system, and I just don't think this is the right system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge him taking his $36 million and running,
Yeah,
but
I mean, he definitely got what he wanted in that regard.
but underrated receiver, and I would be happy to be proven wrong. But I don't think Marcus Mariota is good personally. So
Yeah, I just feel like he's not going to utilize him in any way.
yeah, for sure. Randall Cobb signed with the Cowboys, replacing Cole Beasley, who departed. 1 year, $5 million, pretty low risk for the Cowboys, but fills a definite need there. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I like this signing. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, I think it's a really good fill-in. I think it kind of solves the Beasley loss a little bit, and also just he's kind of a cool guy to have. Maybe you never know what he can do on the field on certain games. I think it's a nice move.
Also adds value as a punt returner, more than Cole Beasley did, I would definitely say. So yeah, if you can get him late, he might be worth something too. Dante Moncrief signs with the Steelers. Do you care?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, he might catch a few extra touchdowns, but it's going to be spotty, and I'm not hitching my wagon to the Dante Moncrief train. Cole Beasley signed with the Bills in a $29 million deal. I like this less than I like the John Brown signing. I don't think that they have the Cole Beasley is a timing based slot receiver. They don't have a quarterback that can execute that.
Yeah, kind of similar complaint with Humphreys to me.
Yeah, it's I mean, Cole Beasley is a good player, but I'm just not sure about the signing. Brashad Perriman signed with the Bucs. Do you care?
No.
Okay. Philip Dorsett signed with the Patriots, and normally I wouldn't care, but they don't have anybody at the wide receiver position. Do you care?
Hey, if they have nobody, just like they did at the start of last season, he had some quality games at that early get-go, and he kind of had some good games in the playoffs. I think they'll kind of like to use him as a sneaky last resort sometimes, so you
You
may not see
drafting
him on
him
the
though?
field. No, but I'd probably pick him up in the waiver wire if I was desperate.
Yeah, Cordero Patterson signed with the Bears. He's a kick returner. You don't care. Chris Hogan signed with the Panthers. I don't care. Do you care?
No, if Brady couldn't get him going, then Cam Newton's not going to.
Yeah, especially when they have like a bunch of other stuff ahead of him. Danny Amendola signed with the Lions. Speaking of things I do not care about, they do have a quarterback that can take advantage of his skill set. Why? He's never done any. outside
Don't
of
want to
New
be
England.
the Detroit Patriots. That's why.
I suppose, yeah. Danny Amendola shouldn't be on your fantasy team. Tavon Austin is going to return punts for the Cowboys. Nobody cares. Chris Conley signed with the Jags, and that's pretty much it for Chris Conley, right?
Yeah, he's just gonna muddy up the waters there.
Yeah. So he's pretty much not what you want. Jordan Matthews signs with the 49ers. Don't really care. Bruce Ellington did sign with the Patriots. He's flashed a little. I can't see him even making the team, to be honest.
He's one of those guys you like to watch play, but he doesn't play often.
Yeah, he might return kicks or something, but it's hard to say. JJ Nelson signed with the Raiders. Do you care?
Not really.
Justin Hardy re-signed with the Falcons. He's a special teamer, depth receiver, not relevant for fantasy. Jermaine Kearse is a free agent. Ryan Grant signed with the Raiders. He might have a few weeks for you, kind of like similar to Seth Roberts, how he's been in the past, but you're not drafting him. Seth Roberts signed with the Ravens, who he actually might have a few games because they don't have anyone. It's like Willie Snead's their number one. So Seth Roberts could have some usefulness later in the season. Russell Shepard, nobody cares. Eli Rogers, nobody cares. Demaryius Thomas signed with the Patriots, but he is coming off a torn Achilles.
And the rest.
Yeah, and he's old. Maybe late in the season, if he shows you something Adam is a speculative ad, you could have something in the fantasy playoffs. But I don't think you need to spend a draft pick on him. Cody Latimer somehow still in the league. Re-signed with the Giants. Kevin White with the Cardinals. Do you care about any of these other guys, Connor?
No.
Yeah. Do you care about any of these guys if they sign somewhere?
Probably not.
Dez Bryant coming off an Achilles tear. Tight ends, Jared Cook signed with the Saints, and I actually loved the signing. What were your thoughts?
I like it, but I with the way that Cook has been in the past, I kind of feel like there is a chance that he kind of just like goes into the background. I feel like that could happen. But in terms of just common sense, it's a great deal for him, and it's really great for New Orleans. But we'll see how it plays out if he can keep his character issues off the field and just play the way he played last season, as if he cared.
Yeah, we start two tight ends. If you have Jared Cook, you're starting him. But high upside, low floor kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Eifert, speaking of high upside, low floor kind of guy, re-signed with the Bengals for less money than teammate CJ Uzomah. I mean, CJ Uzomah is more of a blocker too. He definitely gives you that. But is this it for Tyler Eifert 2019?
Yeah, I feel like that signing was just him feeling nice that they didn't realize that he wasn't off the team. That they kind of realized he actually still used him. So I think it's good that he gets to try one more year, but I think the writing's on the wall for how he's been.
I really hope that I'm wrong and the guy can stay healthy and return to what he used to be. But it's been like a dozen surgeries, and it's just terrible missed opportunity. Do we care about CJ Uzomah if Eifert's healthy?
If he's healthy, no. If he's not, he could be a nice free agent pickup during the year.
Yeah, Nick Boyle, blocking tight end, nobody cares.
Just in there just enough to ruin all of the impact of the other two wide receiver or tight ends in Baltimore.
Yep. In the most annoying signing of the 2019 offseason, the Patriots signed tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who will probably be a stud.
Or not used at all.
Yep, but good luck finding out because it's the Patriots. Good day to you, sir. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, you're drafting him. I think someone is probably too high, honestly. I don't know.
Or he could still be kept as well.
Oh yeah, he is owned by, I think, was it Nate? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Jeff Hireman, do we care?
I do. That one time you beat me with him in fantasy last season.
Yeah, he
30-point game.
Yeah, he did stomp your punk ass, didn't he? Moving on, Demetrius Harris signed with the Browns. He's a backup. He's fine. No one cares. Jesse James signed a really stupid contract with the Lions. The Lions are really stupid. Any take on Jesse James? Is he good? Money? Am I missing something? Is he good?
He does the intangibles pretty well, but I wouldn't say it stands out.
Is he 4 years for $28 million good?
No.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's the UML you're drafting him. Tyler Croft signed with the Bills. They let go of Charles Clay, who signed with the Cardinals. Do we care about Tyler Croft?
With Allen, I'm not so sure. Somebody's got to catch the ball, though, so it could be him.
Okay. No one cares about Jeff Swain?
No.
Charles Clay?
Well, that one's interesting. We'll see.
Rotational tight end too, kind of guy.
Yeah, could be a nice waiver wire pickup.
Any of these other guys?
I'm gonna say no. Maybe Dwayne Allen could do something in Miami, but I doubt it.
Yeah, he's more of a blocking tight end anyway. Yeah, no, none of these guys. Nothing offensive line wise we really need to touch on. We'll move on to the NFL draft, which is on everybody's mind. Connor, the number one player on a lot of draft boards is Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray. A lot of it I feel like might be inflated by Baker Mayfield coming out of that same system last year.
Mm-hmm.
But he's an electrifying athlete. What do you think of Kyler Murray?
He's a kind of quarterback that I generally don't like to go for, but you could end up like Joe Nuska last year and have Baker Mayfield and be looking really nice this season.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield is a different kind of quarterback than Kyler Murray.
Yeah. But he's still short. He's still got a strange way of throwing the ball, weird hand motion. I think he's a little too small, which I know is, you say Drew Brees, and that's right. But most of the time it's not true.
Hang on, Connor. Olay Natural Moisture Body Wash needed a word with us. You were saying that he's too small.
Yeah, that's pretty much my main argument. It's a lame argument, but I think he's kind of somebody who could either be very fantastic or a total waste of time. I think fantasy-wise, he's definitely going to be a stud, though. I think he's kind of got, the kind of making where he could do a Josh Allen kind of production. That's kind of what I see him as this year. I think he could develop into something more. I think he's definitely worth.
I mean, he is a significantly better passer than Josh Allen.
Well, yeah, but I feel like he's worth the first rounder for somebody in this draft. I just, as an organization, if I were the GM, he's the kind of guy I wouldn't go for.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State quarterback. I think this is one of those guys who's going to be a starter in the league for a long time. Doesn't end up actually being all that great. I think.
He's very safe, kind of like Andy Dalton kind of guy.
Yeah, he might be better than that, but if you just want a guy that can, if you're a team with a great roster, just needs a quarterback, there's your guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton level quarterback. Drew Lock, if you want a guy with a cannon for an arm, what do you think about Drew Lock, Connor?
I'm not a huge fan. I would probably, if it were me looking at the board, I would say Haskins, then Murray, then probably Lock, just because I think most of the other guys aren't developed enough at this point. I think a lot of the other guys are going to have some time to develop. I think Drew Lock's a guy that you could throw out early, but I don't know that he would last.
Yeah, started a lot of games at Missouri, but a little turnover prone. So we'll see how Drew Lock goes and where he lands. Daniel Jones is a guy we keep hearing bandied about as a potential first-round pick. Great athlete, great arm. Kind of raw, I think, is the criticism.
Yeah, I feel like he's a project, but
talk about Josh Allen.
He's got
doesn't have Josh Allen's arm, but
yeah, pretty much a little bit like that.
Any of these other guys worth touching on?
Will Greer is apparently been talking to the Patriots a lot. He could be the Patriot pick this year.
Ugh.
Always got to take note of that.
Ugh. Trace McSorley is a really good athlete. Can play probably some slot receiver, some safety for you if you needed him to as well. Tyree Jackson is just this huge dude who's a great athlete, but he's not going to be good in the NFL. Sorry to say, Ray. I know he's from your alma mater, but he's just too raw and he's never going to get his chance. Watch him throw for like 4,000 yards this year. Running backs.
The next Dak.
Yeah, right. Running backs. Josh Jacobs is the only one I've consistently seen mocked in the first round. kind of a power back with decent catching ability. But ran 4.640 at the combine, and not very. I think about the same at his pro day. What do you think about Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, I feel like he's in a weird situation where he's being hated because he's being considered the best, but he's not. Like if he was like the fourth best running back in another draft, people would be like, "Oh, this guy's pretty talented." But I feel like because there's so oddly constructed of a draft this year that everybody's kind of on the same page. Him being thrown in the first spot's kind of put an eye on him and kind of made it a focal point of, well, what's wrong with him. And I feel like if he gets to the right situation, I think he could be a very fine back. I think he's one of the few backs in this draft that could handle a 3-down load. I think if he got a good situation, he could do something with it. I don't think he's going to blow anybody away, though.
Yeah, speaking of guys who could potentially be a 3-down back, Rodney Anderson out of Oklahoma. Before he got hurt, he was widely considered the best running back in this class. So if he can get healthy and get into a good situation, I mean, that's basically the same thing for all these guys, right? It's get into the right situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Justice Hill ran the fastest 40, smaller pass catching type of guy. Elijah Holyfield was really slow at the combine. Is there anyone you want to touch on before we move on to receivers?
Devin Singletary, if you watch any of his stuff, he's this big, bruising kind of back. He's very fun to watch, but he played at Florida Atlantic, and I don't see it translating well in the NFL. I feel like he's kind of going to get stuffed a lot when he in his film. He looks like he can do a lot more, but I think he could be interesting for somebody if they have a lot of pass catching backs to throw in there as their kind of run guy.
Yeah, kind of a Maurice Jones-Drew kind of build to him.
Yeah, and then I think if I were to highlight anybody that I think if they were in a good position could maybe be the best of the class by the end of this, I'd really look and see where Darrell Henderson went. I really like his game, as well as David Montgomery.
All right, there's your guys, straight from Connor's mouth to your ears. Wide receivers, we talked about briefly about DK Metcalf, but one guy I want to highlight is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's Deshaun Jackson. That's who he is. He's a burner. He's fast. He works his tail off. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver in the NFL personally. He can run all the routes and just a really great deep threat receiver. Is there a favorite of yours on this list?
He's probably my favorite as well. So I think we're in agreement on that. I think DK Metcalf will be good. I think he's overhyped, but I think he will have a decent season.
Gotta land in the right spot. If the Bills or somebody take him, it's going to tank his career.
Outside of that, from what I know at this point, I like to look deeper after they've been drafted. But A.J. Brown as well, both guys from Mississippi. I think A.J. Brown could, in a way, be more of the build of a wide receiver in the NFL, more so than Metcalf, and I think he could stand to do pretty well himself.
Yeah, and A.J. Brown, terrific route runner, highly productive in college. A.J. Brown, I think, about tripled DK Metcalf's production in college. Great hands, great route runner. That's a guy, if he lands in a good offense in the NFL, watch out. And he's great after the catch as well.
And he combines A.J. Green and Antonio Brown into one name, so you just know he's got to be good.
That's fair, yeah. Just get all three of them, and you'll be all set. Riley Ridley, speaking of route runner from Georgia, someone I want to highlight, did not run the greatest 40, but he is a technician, and he is the younger brother of Falcons stud Calvin Ridley.
Oh, there you go.
So that's another guy, right system. He could be really good. And Andy Isabella from Massachusetts is absolutely blazing fast. He is really great at deep balls and not really anything else, though. So just keep in mind that if you're looking at drafting it. Anyone else you want to touch on, Connor, before we wrap up?
I'd say that's pretty much it.
All right. Last thing is tight ends. Who's your favorite, Connor?
My favorite tight end?
Yes, sir.
I'd probably go with Hawkinson.
T.J. Hawkinson from Iowa. Two tight ends from Iowa, probably both going to go in the first round. Why do you like Hawkinson over Font?
Just size. I always like a tight end that's a bit larger.
At the combine, he measured 1 inch taller and 2 pounds heavier, though. Is that really that relevant for how much faster Noah Fant is and how much better of a blocker he is?
Yes, it means everything, Doug.
No, but I agree with you. T.J. Hawkinson's got the route running ability, the run after catch. He's not the athlete that Noah Fant is, but he doesn't have to be. We saw Jason Witten dominate the NFL for a decade and a half, not being able to separate from anybody with speed, but with route running savvy. And TJ Hawkinson is a willing blocker, even if he's not as much of a people mover as Noah Fant is.
Yeah, and I feel like we've kind of seen the way that tight ends were going, whereas where Noah Fant kind of stood out more. But I feel like we've kind of seen lately a lot of tight ends are kind of going back to the mold where you kind of have the ability to block and you're kind of just kind of a big mass. And I feel like that's why Hawkinson could possibly have the better career.
Yeah, these two guys, I expect them both to be pretty good. I think you'll see more immediate returns with Hawkinson. If either of these guys goes to the Patriots, just draft him in the UML.
Yeah,
any of these other guys interesting to you at all? Irv Smith, Jay Sternberger, Dawson Knox, maybe Drew Sample?
I think all those names could go well with the right team. I feel like this is really deep tight end class. I think we just have to wait and see who goes where to kind of make the decision on which tight ends we think are going to be the best. But I think it's a very deep class. Definitely look out for a lot of these guys to draft this year.
Great. And we did get a question from Doug Sr. about his draft proposal, and we'll go over it right now, guys. Basically, Doug Sr. is proposing a complete overhaul of our keeper system. So I will show you what he means. For example, we take a team, we will use we'll use my team since I've already removed a lot of the guys I'm not keeping. And I will copy that to this page. So right now, it looks like this. So you have 1, 2, and then it goes all the way down 18, right? And I have a first-round pick in this scenario, an 11th, 12th, etc. Doug Sr.'s proposed plan would be to force everyone to have no more than 14 players, and then the rest of your players get pushed all the way down your draft board. So for me, I would have picks in the first 7 rounds. But every year, I automatically have the first 4, so I can never keep more than 14 players. Basically, it eliminates the penalty for drafting somebody good in the first round, but it also eliminates the advantage of nailing a late round pick. So, for example, a few years ago, I drafted Arian Foster in like the 15th round or whatever it was, and excuse me, and I kind of coasted on that for a few years because I frankly got lucky with a pick. I mean, I liked the guy, but I didn't think he was going to be that good. So basically, it would look like this or like this, and you have a few picks. It makes it a lot easier for me to manage personally. Makes the keeper system, makes trading a lot easier. But Connor, I understand you have some criticisms of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just do think that some of the strategy would be lost in the draft if we switch to the system. I feel like, you're saying people with the late round keepers, I mean, they earned that keeper by drafting them at that period of time. That's my one complaint with it. I do like that it makes things simpler and kind of makes the draft an easier experience. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of takes away from what the draft can be for certain people that strategize it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And it does kind of skew towards the teams that have good rosters right now, that have their good players in the early rounds. For example, Connor, I know you have Ezekiel Elliott in the first round.
And Le'Veon Bell in the second round.
Yeah, so that it would obviously really help your team because now you would have high draft picks. I'm interested to know what you guys think. I will post a poll on the UML Facebook page with 3 options. The first being yes, and let's implement it right away. Yes, and let's implement it after this year's draft, so going into next season. And then no, I don't like it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of situation. If there are no more questions, Connor, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we close up shop?
No, just everybody have fun this weekend with the NFL draft.
Sounds good. And we'll see you guys on Friday. Connor, are you going to be there?
I will.
All right. Sounds good. Double Dog Hemian will also be there. And guys, until Friday, it's been real, and konnichiwa, bitches.